Hello. Welcome to the fifth episode of Petition. We recorded this episode a couple of weeks ago with our dear friend Kushan Patel. This was the first time we were using Zoom, the video conferencing software, and editing this took a little bit of time. We talked to Kushan about comedy in the context of stand up and television shows. Now, on to the podcast.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome to the fourth episode of Petition. Jalat, say hi.
Hi.
We are here with Kushan Patel. Kushan, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Kushan, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm very
How's
lit
the
right now.
lockdown?
The lockdown,
How's the lockdown treating you?
the lockdown is treating me fairly well, right? And I'm having quite a bit of fun. Yeah.
Okay. So, in true Kushan Patel fashion, we'll start this podcast by asking you a few questions, few quiz questions. I'll be sharing the screen with you right now in
Right.
just a moment. How do you go into presentation mode? Yeah.
Oh, for listeners everywhere, like this is being done on a
Yes.
platform, right? So yeah, we are not together. Like yeah. So
Yeah. No, I'll be reading out the questions as well for
all
the
right. Okay.
audience. You can see
Yeah,
the screen, right?
I can see the screen. Yeah.
Yes, now,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to the first question directly.
Are we doing? Yeah.
Yep. A futile and stupid gesture is a movie about what?
I will tell you, this is like, the Lampoon, the Harvard Lampoon, the magazine, I think,
That is absolutely correct.
right? Yeah,
For
fun,
more
fun, 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 fun.
context, the film is based on a. So I'd prepared a few hints,
Right.
underestimating how much you know about comedy. This is a film based on a real life personality starring Will Forte. That was the first hint. The second hint was that Joel McHale plays a real actor slash comedian who he co-starred with
Based on,
previously in a sitcom.
yeah, Chevy
So who
Chase.
is
Yeah,
this? Yes, exactly
he
right.
plays Chevy Chase. Yeah, yeah,
Chevy Chase and Douglas Nealon, I think, was
right.
the founder's
Yeah.
name. They were very good
Mm,
friends.
mm.
The poster has the following text: "If you don't watch this movie, we will kill you. We will kill Will Forte." Do you know the
Right. So,
context for this?
yeah, this is based on this Harvard Lampoon's like, if you don't buy this magazine, we'll kill the dog, right?
Absolutely.
And darkly, that dog was murdered. That dog was shot.
Oh, oh,
Yeah. Some psychopath killed like this dog, right? That was on the cover.
yeah.
Nice.
Uh, Anyways, do you know anything about old school American comedy? Do you follow American comedy? Old, are you a comedy nerd in that sense?
I'm not as much a comedy nerd as you are, right? But I pretend to be, right? And
Okay.
more often than not, I am successful at being pretending that I am a huge comedy nerd, right? Yeah. So that. But it's like I don't have a very academic approach to it, right? I don't know, like, what is old school, like, if Richard Pryor is old school,
Yeah,
right?
Richard
Or if
Pryor is
Tom,
old school.
yeah, or if Tom Lehrer is old school, like, so if the comedy cassettes and so on, right? Like, if Abbott and Costello, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I've
absolutely.
read about them, but because comedy is so subjective and is also dependent upon the time it is based out of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't find the Abbott and Costello bit very funny, right? Yeah.
No, but I'm sure. So, Jalaj, I'll give you some context about
Sure.
and Costello were these comedy duos. No, because you know their most popular bit about they are selecting this baseball team and the people have really weird name. One of the player is named Who and other player is named What. So they get into this confused dialogue back and forth. So this has been done to death now. This
That's
similar
also
pattern.
something, right? That's also
Okay.
something, right? That because I came across it after it has been parodied so many times. So my reference frame, right, is too many different things, right, rather than about an costume. Like for example, say I don't find Seinfeld very funny, right?
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, we are beginning with quite dangerous territories. But it's also because I have watched so much comedy, right, that was based on Seinfeld, and then I recently saw Seinfeld in what 2012, 13, I think. Yeah, and somebody told me that, or and I was discussing it with somebody, and my observation about it was their entire problem could have been solved had they had a mobile phone. Okay, so it belongs to so it belongs to such a time, and place, right?
Yeah.
Great, and so many things have been copied off Seinfeld, right? That I and I've seen them first. So yeah, Seinfeld feels slightly repetitive to me as like this Abbott and Costello bit. Yeah, but
I mean, in this in the same vein, we appreciate Sholay for what it is, despite the fact that we've seen action movies that were
right.
directly or indirectly inspired by Sholay in the Hindi cinema context. In the same way, I think we can still appreciate such sort of such comedy for what for what it
Yes,
is.
yes, right. But here's the thing, okay? The thing about comedy or thing about humor or thing about jokes is you can tell one joke only one time, right?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So maybe it's that, maybe maybe you don't find a joke funny the second time, right? And if, like, again, I think a lot of jokes are funny second time onwards, right? And what happens is the humor becomes slightly like the angle of the humor changes, right? The joke becomes the person who is telling this joke,
Right.
right? Yeah, because of the obviousness of how unfunny it is, right? So
Yeah, so
maybe
this
it.
is something Conan O'Brien also shared with you that he used to say that nobody is going to listen to XYZ late night talk show host and their monologues about what contemporary politics in the 70s or in the 80s or in the 90s, but everyone is going to uh, everyone is going to love Triumph the Comic Dog even 20 years after it was aired. So in that sense, political comedy or comedy that attacks contemporary social mores is the most susceptible to being dated after a few years.
Right, yes, yeah, I suppose, yep, I
But
will
but
agree with
then
you.
sort of one of the things that comedians hold as virtues of comedy is
Mm.
that via comedy you can say things that other people say in don't have the courage to say. So isn't both these things kind of undercutting each other?
Yes, but it's okay, right. Mm, I think there are two different things here, right? One is the intent, right, of what comedy is trying to do, right? And second is the content, right? So intent and content are two very different things, okay? Like a great example is Kunal Kamra, right? Um, Intent super on point, right? Punching up, right? Completely very important. There are very few people. There is Varun Grover, there is Kunal Kamra, right? So few
Right.
people are doing what they do, right? That is punching up, right? Calling the existing government out and whatnot, right? That being said, not all of their jokes land, right? Not all of their jokes are funny,
Right.
right? Also, for their jokes to be funny, for their jokes to land, right, it is important for you to have certain sensibilities, right?
Hmm.
So that's also something. So while their intent is on point, the content always, uh, right, does not land, right? So,
Yeah.
so that's what I
Before
think.
before we completely move away from jokes and their relevance after they are repeated, There's one thing I've always wanted to know your opinion on is how you rate a movie is a good movie, or like a TV show has to be a good TV show on the point whether it's rewatchable or not, and how far does that metric set in tune with comedy or comedy movies?
Okay,
Like,
I will tell you. Um, yeah, but before we start today's podcast, in and we are talking, right? Jalaj and Barg are here with me. They're talking to me about comedy, a subject that I only claim to know things about. So my opinions on everything are going to be
nuanced.
ferocious. Yeah, ferocious, and as much my opinions being ferocious and them being ill-informed and them being wrong are directly proportional. Okay, so the more ill-informed, the more uneducated opinions would be most ferocious of them. So yeah, so before we get into it, I'd like to point out that I know nothing about it. Right, I just have read a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things. So, and that's about it. Yeah. I tried to do my dissertation in comedy,
What are you
but they
saying?
did. Yeah. Like, is I wanted to do, about jokes and, why do we have, right, why do we have these, wife bashing jokes in Gujarati humor, right? I wanted, and I can rant about it as much as I can, right? But a, it's exhausting. B is, yes, and then I did not, my guide did not know how to go about it, as to how, what, like, because in 100 people survey, right? Obviously, they are going to say, okay, we, yeah, we do not appreciate, all women bashing jokes and, white bashing jokes and everything. But these are the same people, how is Kapil Sharma so famous, right? How is, yeah, so it's like, it's a whole thing, right? There's an effect, I think, called the Hawthorne effect, right? Wherein people lie on surveys. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, coming back, so this is what the disclaimer that I wanted to make before we begin. And now coming to your question, right, about
Yeah.
the
Sure.
rewatchability. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Go on, please.
Yeah, come, rewatchability. I think this is a discussion that Barg and I've had, so very often. Uh, most of the times it's in my head, right? But this is something that me and I have, him and I have talked, right, about, why is Office and Parks and Recreation so funny, and, what is number one and number two, why are they so funny, and so on, so forth.
Right.
So the conclusion that I've reached to, right, is that The Office is a funnier show, right? And Parks and Recreation, while being very funny, is also a warmer show. Okay, so when you talk about rewatchability, right, I think it all depends upon how much the movie has packed within itself, right? For you to unravel, uh, like things on your second rewatch. I think somebody who does this very brilliantly is Edgar Wright. If you've seen the Cornetto trilogy, right? Every time I see a Hot Fuzz, or every time I see Shaun of the Dead, right, I find newer things. Okay, and so that joy of discovering new things upon rewatches, right? Uh, Big Lebowski also holds tremendous amount of rewatchability, right? So, and it's not just a movie, right? It also, rewatchability also is a very personal sort of a thing, right? Because you want to remember
The
a
times
time and
that you,
place.
yeah.
Yeah, time and place that you were in, right? But purely speaking, on content wise, I think how much the movie can unravel and unpack, uh, right, wherein, so if you watch, say,
Bojack. So much to
sure,
unravel
yes,
each time you watch it.
yes, each, and we've just unpacked the visual jokes,
Yeah.
right? yeah, and like there's so much on the walls, there's so much on paintings, there's a lot to unpack, and perhaps that is what rewatchability for me is. A great example is Office. Okay, now like when you see Office for the first time, you watch it, but second time, third time, fourth time onwards, you start realizing that Michael practices a lot of hyper corrections. Right, hyper corrections is a form of comedy, or is a form of speech wherein you want to say something, okay, and you want to sound important, right?
Right.
And so you you correct it so much, okay, it's like mispronouncing a Spanish word in the perfect Spanish accent, right? A great example would be like my heart soars with an eagle's nest, right? And look how the turntables, no, right there.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that to be seen, right? So yeah, so rewatchability for me makes movies and things watchable. Community, oh my god, how have we not talked about Community? Community has
Yeah,
so much to unpack, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just that.
yeah. In the context of shows like BoJack specifically, there's something one of my friends had shared with me. He was like,
Right.
the, these kind of shows,
Mm.
you can watch it a few years afterwards, and then
Right.
you'll relate to different characters depending on where you are in your life.
Yeah, that's true. That is
That's
also true.
almost what he said.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
he's right though. Because depending on where you are in life at that point in time, right, or how you have, or how your sensibilities have changed, yeah, you can relate, right? Right now, I relate hardest with Princess Caroline, right? So yeah, that's me.
Nice.
Yeah. Moving on to the next question, maybe. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Yeah. Yes, I can.
Yeah. So this is a very recent occurrence,
Okay.
and who would like to thank these people?
Who would like to thank
Oh,
these people?
I
Um,
think I
Wait.
Yeah, so this is a list of people, most of them comedians. Nancy Shane, Veron Shatman, Chris Rock, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, Michelle Wolf, Daniel Gorn, Jimmy Carr, Michael Garfinkel, Tyson Fury, Ari Shafir, Blair Beard, Paul Sims, John
Right.
Slash, Blair Burke, my sisters Julie, Jenny and Catherine, my kids Mary and Kitty, Bob Dylan, Non McDonald, and Prozac. So who
Who
gave
would like
this
to?
acknowledgement at the end of their recent comedy special?
Recent comedy special. Who had a recent comedy special? It should be Mark Maron. Mark Maron?
No, not Mark Maron.
No, then I don't know. I've not seen a
Yeah.
lot of
So
recent comedy.
I had accidentally moved on to the answer slide, but
Oh, okay.
thankfully you did not see
Do you want
not
to
see
do
it.
you
Thankfully,
want to report? I mean, I'm so sorry. Repeat the question for the audio thingy. Do you want to repeat?
Yeah, I
thankfully,
think
I
I
don't
said out
have.
everything.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I said out all the names.
All right.
Who would like to thank these people was the question.
All right.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I
So
don't have any attention span, so I did not see the answer slide.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this was just an excuse for us to talk about Louis C.K. So Louis C.K.
Okay.
dropped a surprise special on his
Right.
website
Oh,
for
nice.
people who need this in these trying times is what I think his message was.
Nice.
Hmm.
And at the end, he gave this acknowledgement. And yeah, so thoughts on Louis C.K. coming back?
I don't have any thoughts on Louis C.K. because it's just not for me, right? I don't particularly find Louis C.K. very funny.
Okay.
But that's just my taste. That's just my taste. So yeah.
So we'll be swerving past the most controversial topic right now in
I
comedy.
Yeah, and I don't think so. It's my place also to be able to comment because
Fair enough.
I'm so far removed from all of those things, right? So
Hmm.
it's like this, okay? There is a circle of influence and there is a circle of concern, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you cannot like influence or it does not touch you, right? So maybe it does not concern me, right? Not to say I am like fully lack, like I don't have empathy, right, or whatever, but it's just that I don't think I have an opinion, like, and there
But
is an
we can
absolutism.
talk,
Yeah,
we can talk about the people he thanked, and because there are some really funny people on there on that list.
but that's the whole thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you erase, say, like, 25, 30 years of somebody's life,
No, I
right?
think we will just move past the whole controversy. And
Right.
but thoughts on these brilliant comics? Norm
I
Macdonald, one
I
of my
particularly
favorite stand-up
I
comics.
yeah, let's talk about Norm Macdonald. Maybe
Yeah,
you talk about Norm Macdonald, right? I'd like to listen to you talking about Norm Macdonald.
right. So one of the greatest, and both of you know this. One of the greatest pleasures in my life is late night American late night comedy, and one of the most brilliant moments in American late night history was when David Letterman was doing his last show for CBS. So after just before he retired, Norm Macdonald was the stand-up comic he had invited, and Norm broke down at the end of the set. He started weeping, and I'll encourage everyone to watch that set. It's one of the tightest bits in comedy ever. He talks about, obviously, Norm being Norm. He talks about World War One and Hitler, and it is the funniest thing ever. Everyone should go watch it. And funnily enough, he ends by recollecting the first joke he remembers David Letterman ever saying. And
Right.
so the last joke on David Letterman's show, one of the greatest talk hosts ever, was a
Mm,
David Letterman joke. So it's a great sort of circularity there.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, I'll tell you.
do you
Okay,
guys follow Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah.
not really. No, not Joe Rogan.
Kushan,
Follow
you're
as in
saying
not
something.
like, hello.
Sorry.
You're saying something, Kushan. I cut you off.
Yeah, no, not Joe Rogan. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I was talking about, like, circularity in comedy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because Jalaj and I are friends, right? And
Okay.
so are you and I are
Uh,
friends, right? Uh, and so there is this thing, okay? There is this bit that I do with Jalaj. Okay. I ask him, like, how are you doing, right? And then he goes on about, and then right midway I tell him TMI. Okay, right. As in, and it could be like something very innocuous. Okay, it's like I ate dal chawal, and I'd be like TMI. Okay,
what does that
and
mean?
TMI is too much information,
Oh, okay.
right? It's like, and then he's like, how is this TMI? And then I say, like, I get to decide what is too much information for me, not you, right? And then I do it, like, I do it 3 times. Okay, on my fourth call, I don't do it. Okay, and like, moment, like, he has fully been comfortable, right, in his experience of not listening to TMI and whatnot. I bring it up, right, in the same call, maybe like TMI, right? So the point is circularity, right?
Yeah.
And like, so telling the same joke 5 times, right,
Yeah.
is very funny, right? Because like you're
No, it's funny
heightening it.
to you. It's funny to you, not to
But
the one
that's
who's on the
no, but
receiving
that's
end.
the whole
No,
thing.
no,
Yeah,
no.
it's beautiful. Yes, that's another thing, right? I live my life as a long stand-up bit, okay, and I find opportunities to be funny, right, to myself, right, and hopefully to other people, right, more often than not, okay. Right. So that's just me because I want to laugh at things. I want like, and I have a very low and barrier about
Yeah.
things that I find funny. Okay. Uh, and I also have a very high barrier at the same time. Right. Like, uh, if the premises don't work, right? If the setups don't work, right? yeah, they have to be scientifically accurate. They have to be like, no, no, it's like, how can you say that, right? Like, I'll tell you. Okay, so uh, and thankfully my friends